Hi guys, so welcome back to Arduino for Beginners from Southville. This is lesson 5 and I'm Rex or Wallen, as some call me. And here we're going to be going through some more sensors just so you can have a try. A temperature sensor like a thermometer, a PIR sensor that's an infrared detector sensor so you can make a motion detecting thing. And we're going to actually be going through a new C++ concept today called conditionals or if statements. So let's get to it. All right, so this is just the reminder of your Arduino board with your different pins, digital pins, analog pins, etc. Your breadboard, so you could see how everything's wired when you do use your breadboard. But today we're going to be going over a new concept in code called an if statement. So we're going to be going over 3 commands in particular. If, so I'm gonna, if it's something, if there's a condition met, then I can execute a certain block of code. The second one is else. So if I'm happy, do this, else do the other thing. And the third one we're going to be looking at is else if. So if I'm happy, jump for joy. Else if I'm hungry, go eat. Else, go to sleep. Right? So you could use an if with an else if. And then finally, you use the else statement at the end. So just to review, this is what your functions look like in C++. Your Arduino program structure. But this is our example on if statements. So this is what it looks like. If, and then some sort of condition like x is bigger than 3 or x equals 0, something like that. So if a condition, then execute this block of code. Your next example would be if you have a condition, say x is equal to 4, then do this block of code, and if it's not equal to 4, do this other thing in the else block. So those are your examples of an if statement and an if-else statement. Okay, so here's another example of if condition 1, like time is less than 0, over here, then I'll do this. Else if condition 2, and then finally the else statement. So this is a template you could use in your code. So here's an example. Int. So an integer again is negative, just whole numbers, negative 2 million to positive 2 million. Int time equals 22. So if time is less than 10, I'm going to output good morning. Else if less than 20, I'll output good day. Else I'll output good evening. So how does the code work? First, time is 22. And then it checks this one. Is time less than 10? Nope. So then it goes to this one. Is time less than 20? Nope, because time is 22. And then so it goes here, else, and then it outputs good evening. So the execution of this code is it outputs good evening. And here are different kinds of statements you can use in your conditions. So here is the equal sign. So when you do an equals, you use 2 blocks called equal equals. So here 5 equal 5. This will give you true. Not equal would be with this exclamation point. Not equal, so 5 not equal to 5. This returns false. This would be less than is 5. Less than 5.5, the answer is true. This is less than or equal 5, less than or equal to 5, this returns true. This sign is greater than is 5, greater than 5.5. Actually, this returns false because 5 is not greater than 5.5. And then here, 5 is 6.3 greater than or equal to 5. That returns true. Okay. And I got this from this website, engineertutor.com, so you could see this table. All right, so let's do a sample circuit. We'll be trying out conditionals and learning about two new sensors today. So the temperature sensor, this uses a thermistor to detect the temperature. So the resistance of a thermistor increases when the temperature goes down. So it's a kind of device that helps you with the temperature. And we're going to be using a passive infrared sensor as well. So here it sends out infrared signals, and then if there's a difference between the two signals, then there's something there. So then it can detect if there is something within that site, like if there's a person entering the room. So we're going to be using those two sensors and implementing it in code like this, so that we won't use it on Arduino today because not all kits have a PIR sensor or a temperature sensor. But we're going to be implementing it in Tinkercad just so you can see how this works. All right, so let's get to it. Let's start our Tinkercad code. Okay, so we're gonna go click here, create circuits, and you'll get a new circuit, and I'll call this new circuit lesson 5 temperature and PIR. All right, let's change that amp to and PIR. Okay, so let's start again with a breadboard, an Arduino, and we're going to do something cool. Is we're going to create two special rails. We're going to be creating a power rail. So the 5 volts, I'm going to wire a red wire, and I'm going to be connecting it here. So everything on now the power wire here has 5 volts, and then I'm going to be creating a ground wire here and connecting it there. So everything connected to the power wire now has 5 volts, and it goes, so it starts at the power wire and then it will go to the ground wire if you connect it in. All right, so let's look at the diagram. We're going to put a temperature meter on the 7th row. So we'll go down and go to TMP here. Right, we'll put that there. Power, V out, and GND. So the power, we want to wire a power wire from here to there. So now there's power connected to the TMP, and then it's gonna go out from the GND. Oh, okay, that's red. Huh. Press, and then I'll make that red, okay? And then I'll put a black wire from the GND to the ground rail. So here you notice this is connected here, and the ground part is connected here. Then I put a wire from there. Okay, and then we're going to wire some sort of thing we can read it. So we're gonna wire an orange wire to A0 to do an analog read. So now we set up a temperature sensor, and then we're gonna set up now a PIR sensor as well. So we're gonna put a PIR machine here. This is an infrared sensor. A little bit different is the power here is in the middle. So we're gonna connect red here in the middle. And then ground is the third one. So we're gonna connect a ground wire to there. And then an orange wire, which is the signal. We're going to connect to pin A6. It's gonna be same as the diagram, pin A6. So now we have all of that set up. We can now pretty much have a basic piece of code, and we're gonna start reading through it, right? So here, let's go to our diagram, and we're going to set this up. So basically, it'll allow you to get data about both the temperature and the PIR. Okay, so let's get started. Very simple. So first, we're going to set up two variables. We're going to click blocks and then blocks text. Click variables. I'll create variable called temperature. Okay. And then I'm going to create another variable called PIR. Okay. And then we're going to drag that in. So set PIR to 0. And then we're going to drag another one, set temperature to 0. Next. So now you can see the variables work in. Next, we're going to take an input, read. So the PIR will read digital pin number 6. And the temperature will read analog pin A0. So digital read 6, analog read A0, just like the diagram. And then we are going to output stuff. So let's just print serial monitor first. We're going to print the temperature. Okay. Variables temperature. And then we're going to go here, print the serial monitor, PIR, sensor. And then here we're going to click control, one more print. And you're going to see here PIR. And then we're going to put a delay of 1 second. Let's just make it 3 seconds or so. So with this piece of code, you now have a circuit board monitoring both temperature and if it can detect someone in the room. So let's click start so you can see. Just blocks and we'll click start simulation. All right, so now you'll be able to see temperature 153, PIR 0, because there's someone there. But if I change it and I move this block and say, okay, you're out of focus, now it's going to put a 1. And then if someone's there, it's on a 0. If this thing's outside, it'll put a 1. With temperature, you can just click, make it hotter, 284, or now it gives 323. Make it cooler, it gives a value of 0. All right, so now we are going to add an if statement. So click stop simulation. And we're going to add an if statement to figure out, is it too cold or is it too hot? So let's give this a try. Okay, so now we're going to use our new piece of code called if statements. So you can see we're going to put an if statement here. Actually, we're going to put an if then else here. Put that on top. Okay, so here now you can see if else. And then you're going to click math. If is greater than 200. Okay, then I'll click variables temperature. So now, if it is greater than 200, it's too hot. We're going to print it's too hot. Else, we're going to print it's too cold. Okay? And then next, we are going to use PIR again. So control if. I'll move the weight outside. Oh, sorry. We will use an if then else. If then else. Move that a bit down. So math. If less than or equal to 0. So notice the sign less than or equal to. You can also see this sign less than or equal to. PIR is less than or equal to 0, we're going to output there's something there. Else, we're going to print there's nothing there. So with this piece of code now, you have an if statement monitoring both temperature and infrared. And then now we're going to click start. So let's go back to blocks and click start so you can see it. And we're going to click serial monitor. So here it's saying it's too cold. So we're going to make it hot. And now it's going to say it's too hot. And now there's, oh, if it is less than or equal to 0, there's something there. I think, maybe we have it the other way around. There's nothing there. If it's, oh, if it's 1. Okay. So I think if it's 1, okay. So we have this the other way around. I'll change the code here as well. So if PIR is greater than or equal to 1, then there's something there, else there is nothing there. So here we go. We're gonna click start again, and here we're gonna click, okay, there's something there, there's nothing there because it's now PIR sensor is giving a 0, and then when it's a 1, there's something there. Okay, so this is the code for today, and I'm gonna be updating the slides as well. So 1 second, and then you're gonna see the corrected code. All right, so that's it for our demo, and then now here's the corrected code. The only difference is if PIR is greater than or equal to 1, there's something there, else there's nothing there. So with this video, you have 2 new sensors and you learned about if statements. So with that, thank you very much.